All right, Infidel, and I don't know, maybe Gato. This is gonna be my third attempt at trying to make a decent starter video for Germany. This is after the No Step Back update. I don't know, really know if that affects anything. I just feel like I should say it just for reference. So yeah, let's get started. It's gonna take a minute. I mean, yeah, we could do Iron mode. We could do Iron Man mode just to see if I get any achievements. But all right, we're gonna start. Sure. Waiting for the game to load. So Infidel, I specifically remember you mentioning that you could never get more than like 400,000 guys on the field at once or something like that. Like you just couldn't train enough. And so, just to kind of go off of that, what I'm going to do is I'm immediately going to start training. What was it, 76? Can we do 9? Yeah, we're going to start training 9 units. And that's going to give us 86,000 trained at once. You know what? Let's see if we can do 10. Nah, no, we're going to go 9. And just going to have them go to Weimar Republic. Um, and the reason that we're doing this is because Germany gets a few national focuses down here that basically allow you to demand the Sudetenland. The Anschluss to start off with, which gives you to Austria, demand the Sudetenland, which basically allows you just to annex all of Czechoslovakia, and then demand Slovenia, which allows you to basically do the same thing with Yugoslavia. And once you do that, I mean, you can do the fate of Greece thing. I typically never do it. I wonder if it would work, but essentially what that allows you to do is take all of Czechoslovakia, all of Austria, and almost all of Yugoslavia without firing a shot, which is huge in terms of like giving you production power and giving you factories. And one of the things that's super important, obviously, in the game are military factories. And military factories, you can take those, you can get more of them either by conquering them from somebody else or by building your own. Having said that, you need a lot of civilian factories to build military factories. In fact, you need civilian factories to build just about anything in the game. Every single one of these things requires civilian factories to build. So, with that in mind, what we're going to do is we are going to, I probably should have just double clicked these. We are going to double queue civilian factories in every single region that's not attached to the sea. And the reason I say not attached to the sea is because typically I will leave the sea bordering provinces open for naval dockyards to be built. So I just don't like to take up those slots for anything else. So something to keep in mind. While we are on the subject of naval stuff, as you'll see at the very beginning, it's kind of the same, I think, with the U.S. too. I don't know how it is with any of the other big naval nations, but you have a ton of production lines going, and it's just like not super efficient. So what I do is I'm going to set these. Currently, they're all set to complete 2 submarines on this line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to 1, to 1, to 1, and the very last one set that to infinite. So what that's going to do is that's going to make this one finish, and it's going to end. This one finish, it's going to end. Same with this. And then whatever is left over, these naval dockyards, will just go to this infinite one, which I'm fine with. Oh, actually, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to set this to 3 because it's going to get these 2 when this is finished. To 4, to 5, and we're going to set you to 4. And yeah, okay. And this one's going to go to 1. This one's going to go to infinite. We're going to put you out here. Same here. Same here. And then we're going to just put infinite battleships. No real reason for that. If we wanted to, yeah, let's see what we can do here. I'm going to just kind of consolidate some of these navies. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to put all of the Air Force that we currently have as Germany, except for the naval bombers. I'm going to leave them over there as stationed in Berlin, and that's going to allow me to reorganize them, and it's going to make it a little bit easier. Okay, so to start off with, I remember also you were talking about the fact that you hadn't done Rhineland until later in the game. So the current meta, as I understand it, is that you typically always want to start with this one, with the Rhineland national focus, unless you want to do the alternate history of opposing Hitler, reviving the Kaiserreich, and like rebuilding. I think you can rebuild some of the other monarchies that used to be in Europe. Like I think there's one of these for like the Austro-Hungarian Empire, maybe. And assassinate Mussolini so that you can get oh God, is it Victor Manuel? Anyway, you can get the Italian king back on the throne. But if you're not going to do the opposed Hitler thing, which I'm not going to be doing because I'm going to do like pseudo historical in terms of like what actually happened, I'm going to do Rhineland to begin with. And I know some people want to do the 4-year plan first because it gives you that huge boost to civilian factories, and I see that. But I'm just going to go with Rhineland, and I'm going to shoot for Anschluss as soon as possible, and then I'm going to keep shooting for all of these annexation national focuses as well. All right. So then to start off with military factories, I'm going to say we should start making um, as many rifles as possible and as many artillery guns, excuse me, as possible, because that's basically just what's going to be feeding this whole infantry thing. And to start off with research, I'm going to say we're going to start with the MG08. It's probably not the best thing we could do. We're going to do basic machine tools. And the reason that I go with basic machine tools is it gives you a huge production efficiency cap. And the production efficiency is this little bar here that you see on every single production line that's not naval. And what this does is, you can see here, we're currently at 49.7%, and it's going to cap at 50%, and it's increasing at 0.01% per day. And what this does is, essentially, the longer you have a production line running, the more efficient that production line gets, and the more output you get with the same amount of resources and the same amount of factories. So the reason that that's super important is it basically allows you for certain things like support equipment, which we know we are always going to be making, and infantry equipment, which we know we are always going to be making. And same with trucks, since they don't really change at all throughout the game. The more efficient you can get with that, the more resources you'll get from it, and it's just going to be better all around. So we're going to have that going on. I'm also going to do construction. That's going to help us a ton with trying to make as many civilian factories as possible. And then to end it all, I'm going to do this electrical engineering tech, and that's essentially, yeah, I don't have the naval DLC, but it keeps giving me these pop-ups for it. Love that. But it's essentially going to give us just a boost to research speed, which we definitely need. So for all of this, you can kind of ignore it, especially the cancel MEFO bills. You don't really need to do it. It's going to give you pop-ups and make it seem like you should do it, but in my experience, it's just not anything you need to worry about. I've heard somebody say that it's not really worth it to import resources, because as you create, obviously, like trucks and planes, they require rubber for tires, and we don't have rubber as Germany, go figure. And if you don't have a resource, you don't create quite as many, like it's not as efficient, which makes sense because you don't have the resources. I'm just going to go ahead and do it anyway, and I'm going to do Siam because Siam sometimes in games becomes really friendly with Japan. And I mean, they're a dictatorship, so they're typically like friendlier towards us. I say friendly. Friendlier than, well, we'll say friendly. Um, and so I'm just going to let that go. And as of yet, we should have, yeah, so the closest research is going to be 99 days, and the focus will be 70 days. So once I start, I'm just going to put it at full speed and kind of let it go on autopilot until then. Having said that, all that's left to do, now that I've got all the planes going to Berlin and all the naval fleets going to Weser Ames, is I'm going to put everybody in their own little group, and I'm going to put all of the mechanized units, including the motorized unit, in an Erwin Rommel army. And then I am going to put these guys in their own faction, or in their own section. These guys are in their own. And I'm going to assign a field marshal. Let's do Kluge. Okay, so that should be good for now. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this cavalry unit just to be infantry. And the reason I'm doing that is because the infantry units have more manpower than the cavalry units do, and the cavalry unit, in my opinion, just isn't super useful. And that's going to get us closer to this 500,000 men in the field that we need to do the Anschluss as quickly as possible. In the same vein as that, I'm going to do the exact same thing with the mountain troops, just because, in my opinion, the mountain troops just aren't super useful. At least, like, I've never really noticed that I didn't have them. So I'm actually just going to delete their template. I'm going to keep the cavalry brigade template because later on I can use these guys as military police in some of the occupied zones, which helps. Yeah, so we should be good. I'm just going to let it run. All right. I'm going to pause it for a second just to reorganize all of this. I'm going to put Eric Rader as one, and then I am going to create my own naval. I'm going to create a submarine fleet, and then we've got a surface naval fleet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have these guys go to the German Reich Task Force 1, which is the submarine fleet, just so that they're automatically getting deposited in there. There we go. So no matter what, that fleet will just keep getting bigger. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with the high sea float, or flute. All right. Sorry, I know this isn't super exciting, but just logistically, it makes things a little bit easier. Essentially, as Germany, at least at the beginning, I pretty much just have two fleets, the submarines and the surface. The surface I have all the way out here kind of constantly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them do naval exercises over here. And for these guys, what happens if I merge? Ooh, okay. Reorganize. Okay. Shift click. Okay, I'm just gonna worry about that later. But basically, I'm gonna make the air wings to be 100 planes each, and since all of the air bases have capacities that round up to 100, it just makes it a lot easier logistically trying to see if like people are gonna fit in there. And now I'm just gonna let it run. So we're letting the Rhineland go, and we're letting the technology go. And I'm just gonna reorganize this one more time. And we're gonna reorganize this guy. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not really good at. Oh my god. Okay, we're gonna leave that. All right, and the reason that I'm putting these guys in their own little army over here, like all of the mechanized units, is because when the Spanish Civil War starts, I'm gonna send them over there. Ideally, all right, deploy, deploy. And so, sorry, I should also mention the reason I'm doing this as soon as possible is just because we only care about getting as much manpower on the field, quote unquote, as possible. And we can worry about the training and the equipment that they're going to get later on. Literally at the beginning, it's just getting the manpower required so you can get those national focuses to annex like a lot of Central Europe. So we're going to take them, we're going to add them to that, and we're going to let them go. But also having more manpower allows us to, or having more divisions in the field allows us to send more divisions to Spain, because the way that it works essentially is you can only send like a certain proportion of your total army as foreign or as volunteers to a conflict, and so that's why we want to get the proportion as high as possible, and we do that by having as many troops in the field as possible. All right, kind of letting this do, yeah, just like I said before, ignore MEFO. It's not going to be super useful. Getting some naval experience, which is awesome. Letting them get that up. Okay. Shit, I let it go an extra day. That's my fault. All right. Next thing I am going to do is I'm going to do the 4-year plan while we're waiting for the Anschluss to fire. And I'm going to... Yeah. No, I'm going to let them keep going for a bit. But I'm going to do... Yeah. Okay, cool. Now that I've got another moment, Okay, cool. Now they're reorganized into wings of 100, which just makes that entire thing a lot easier. Um, okay, now that we've got 233 political power, what I like to do really early on is do where is he? Joseph Goebbels. So he gives us plus 10% war support and plus, or 0.1 plus daily fascism support. And the reason I'm doing this is because you get big boosts if your stability is high and your war support is high. The stability gives you like higher factory output. It gives you basically a better buff for your consumer goods that you have to have. And then for the war support, it gives you attack and defense buffs. So it's in your best interest to keep both of those as high as possible. Also worth noting that if you ever get invaded, the lower your war support, the less cities that the enemy has to capture before you would capitulate. So keep that high. So pretty good because he gives us daily fascism support and the popularity of the ruling party, which for Nazi Germany is the Nazi Party, go figure, the higher your stability is. So those two are directly correlated. So that's one of the reasons that I want to keep that high. And it's just better to have it early on so that these things start to stack early. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Going to let it run. Now we've got 15 days left for this research. Get to the point? No, not quite yet. And we are just letting these guys gain experience. Okay, cool. You know, we're not ready there yet. We're not ready there yet. I am going to go ahead and just do this research speed boost early on, because why not? Okay, Italy. Another thing worth mentioning too is I'm going to do the improved worker conditions. And that's also going to help me get my stability up to 100% really quickly. You get a small debuff at the very beginning for it, but I mean, it doesn't really matter that much. We're okay. Letting these go. Letting these go. Okay. And at this point, we have 500,000 men in the field. So whenever, trying to do the math really quickly. So whenever our other national focus that we've got going right now is ready, we can pretty much just fire off immediately. Yeah, we've got 36 days left. So just going to let this keep going. And in anticipation, just in case, if things don't go well in Austria and they don't take the Anschluss, I'm just going to have that be an option, which I don't really predict will be an issue, but I was previously when I've said that about like Yugoslavia, it also has not worked. So I'm just not going to tempt fate. Okay, so our oil is going down because the naval unit is out and about. And yeah, okay, that's enough. I'm going to let that finish. And since they're repairing more than they need, they said that they need 8 currently. I'm going to up this up to 5 just so that everybody can get the repairs that they need, because half the time it's not even that important. Okay, cool. 4-year plan is complete. Let's do the Anschluss. And let's go ahead and get more troops in the field. And as you will notice, we are slowly building more civilian factories. What this is also going to do is Austria gives us a good amount of factories as well, and that just adds to the proportion that we have that can build stuff. So now that we've got this dispersed industry thing going on, this is actually like kind of, I'd say it's kind of important. So you can do concentrated industry or dispersed industry. So the concentrated industry allows you to keep this production efficiency higher if you're producing only that same thing for the entire game, basically. So like it allows this production efficiency just to be super high. And dispersed industry also allows you to do that a little bit. It increases the base like by 5% as opposed to 10%. But what the dispersed allows you to do is that, let's say I start building the Panzer III, but then I build the Panzer IV. I can just make the production line create the new variant of it. And when I do that, you lose a bit of your production efficiency because obviously, even though it is at the base, even at the core, it is still a medium tank. It's like a new version of the medium tank, so your factories still have to catch up. What the dispersed industry allows you to do is it allows you to keep that production efficiency And it just basically gives you more leeway when you're trying to create new things. So since Germany has more research slots than a lot of nations, and I can eventually get a fifth one with national focuses, I typically play Germany as fairly like technologically advanced. So we're going to be producing a lot of new things, and we're constantly going to be coming up with like new creations. So in that spirit, I am personally going to go with the dispersed industry. You could also go with the concentrated industry. I've certainly played games with it being that way before. But the dispersed industry, I just feel like I've got better luck with, so I'm just going to do that. And just because we have this 100% research bonus, I'm going to go ahead and do research improved machine tools just so that we can get another production efficiency cap. And we're not going to get a time bonus because that 100% offsets that. All right, so we're kind of well on our way at this point. We're just chilling. We're letting everything get built. I'm going to keep on pumping out infantry, and even if they've got sticks and stones in their hands, just to make sure that we get as many men in the field as possible. And boom. And there we go. Another 86,000 or however many that is. Cool. Cool. And it's not even 1937 yet, and Germany already has 710,000 men in the field. And then once the Anschluss is finished, I'm going to actually create the intelligence agency, just because with the extra civilian factories, I feel like I should just go ahead and get that started. And as you can see, with the improved worker conditions and the ruling faction somewhat going up, that's giving us a stability boost, which is huge. Okay, so for this, I could go to radio. I could go over here. I'm actually going to create pack guns, anti-tanks, because I like to create the anti-tank guns because since at the beginning, obviously, we're pumping out a lot of infantry units. We're not creating as many tank units. If our infantry units go up against a bunch of tanks, they're probably not going to really have the means to defend themselves against them because they need a hard attack skill. And most things, like infantry units, just get soft attack skills. So what the support anti-tank will allow us to do is I'll go to the infantry division like template, and I'll add. It's not appearing here, but what I'll do is I'll add support anti-tank, and that is essentially just going to allow our infantry divisions to have some means of destroying those tank divisions when they go up against them. Okay, so nationalist Spain has declared. We now have an ungodly amount of infantry, like really early in the game. If I were playing just casually, I probably wouldn't be doing the strategy just quite this aggressively, just because. But I'm trying to make this as quick and as pithy as possible. So now we can send volunteers, and it says that we can send 5, which typically it's 4. But what we're going to do is we're going to send Erwin Rommel. We're going to send those 4, and we're going to let them help nationalist Spain clean up their act. Okay, so we've got 159 political power again. So what we're going to do is we are going to hire Hjalmar Schacht, who gives us huge boosts to civilian construction, to civilian factory construction speed, refinery construction speed, railway construction speed, just basically a ton of infrastructure. So he's going to help us there, and we are just going to keep on going. And Anschluss should be finishing up really soon, actually. Okay, Anschluss is complete. How can anyone say that Austria isn't German? And I'm going to change all of these to our infantry division template. The Austrians have their own infantry division template that's spelled the exact same way since they both obviously speak German. It can be a little confusing, so I'm going to switch them over, and I am going to delete those just so that I don't have that clutter there, just because it messes with my OCD. All right, so we've got all those guys, and at this point, we should have 843,000 men in the field, which is exactly like 100,000 more than we need for the demand Sudetenland. So we can start demanding the Sudetenland in 1936, which is awesome. So what we're going to do is just to intimidate them. So I haven't actually seen any concrete evidence of this on like somebody that's actually gone and investigated this. However, anecdotally, I know that this works, and I know that I've read online that people do this. If you put all of your divisions on the border with a country and you're about to do like a focus where like you want them to do something for you, typically that can be a good way to force the AI to kind of do what you want, since they have that like threat of they have that threat like right there. I'm gonna just go ahead and put another one producing fighters, just because, I mean, we're Germany. We're going to need as many fighters as possible. Okay, 168. Now that we have our war support up, we can switch to a war economy. And the war economy makes it so that we only have to have 20% of our civilian factories making consumer goods. So the game has this setting called consumer good factories. It's not really a setting, sorry. It's a weird mechanic. And it kind of role plays, like as the U.S., your civilian factories starts off super high, and I think for other nations it starts off super high. Typically, the more democratic you are, the more free market it is, and the higher that is. But civilian consumer factories is essentially saying like you need to have a certain proportion of your factories making things like chocolate, cars, radios, just things that make people happy. It doesn't really tell you what they actually make, but the war economy stance that you have, at least the higher that it is, I guess the lower that it is, the fewer factories you need to waste doing that. So eventually what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to total mobilization, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. But yeah, the war economy, having that super early is very helpful, because now we've got like 31 civilian factories making stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and create the Abwehr. That's going to be pretty important. Okay, Anschluss of Austria. Cool. All right, and Rommel has arrived. We're just going to help them clean up that really quickly. So basically what I try to do with Nationalist Spain is there's all these like pockets. So I try to help them clean them up, because there's a ton of units just dealing with this. The AI isn't the best at knowing how to handle this, but clean up this pocket, clean up this pocket. I typically try to cut them off. Sometimes I mess with Barcelona, sometimes I don't. Sometimes you can get really lucky and just shoot straight from Madrid, and once you take Madrid, the Civil War is pretty much over, just because their opinion is irrelevant. I try not to piss off Yugoslavia. Okay, we're waiting. Going to be doing a little bit of micromanaging here, not too much. Okay, I don't know. And I'm gonna somewhat curtail the amount of infantry units that we're making, because at this point it is getting a little ungodly. Yeah, I'm just gonna take only one off, so we're gonna go back to making 8, because we've got the manpower for it. All right, so they're kind of encircled. Just help them clean that up. Awesome. Now we're gonna go to Bilbao. I don't know how you say that. Probably somebody can tell me. Okay, awesome. Abwehr is created, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do localized training centers. And I saw this actually on YouTube from Bitter Steel's videos. And so what the localized training centers allow you to do is it allows you to recruit spies from different countries. So if I know, like for Russia, for instance, I know I'm going to have people, or I know I'm going to want to be having intelligence networks in Russia. So it makes sense to recruit a Russian spy for it. So that's what I'm going to start off with. And we're going to... All right, 6 days on that. I don't know why it stopped. Okay. Dispersed Industry 1 has been researched. Awesome. Let's start off with doing... Yeah, it's still pretty early in the game. So we're going to start off with excavation, and that just gives us plus 10% resources that we already have. So that's cool. God, man. Okay, they're struggling. Oh, it's because it's a mountain province. That's my bad. All right. Obviously, tanks and trucks don't do really well in mountains. Go figure. So let's see. What's a flat-ish area? Okay, that's pretty flat. So I see an opportunity here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have them go here, and I'm going to have them go all the way to Madrid, and we're going to see how that works out. It should be pretty decent. But anywho, localized training centers, cool. If I zoom out, you can now, if I press the decisions hammer, and then I zoom out, it gives me the ability to recruit in any of the provinces that I want. So I'm going to recruit in the Soviet Union. And then I'm going to start doing the different departments in our intelligence agency. So I'm just going to start off with civilian, and I'm going to do all 4 of these. And yeah, all right. And look, our stability is already at 100%, and our war support is up to 64%, which is awesome. And can I send an attaché? I don't know if I want to. Oh, interesting. I'm surprised they didn't send one, but okay. Or they won't let me send one, but historic day. Awesome. So we got Sudetenland. We could do the first Vienna Award, which is literally just giving the Hungarians this northern province. It doesn't do anything for us, but it's like in the way for our next focus, so we have to do it anyway. I'm going to go ahead and research the radio because that's really useful for reinforcing. And now that we've got some military factories, I'm just going to make another truck. I'm going to make another tank. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make another CAS, and I'm going to have that built so the next factory we get goes to that. Oh, almost let those guys get fully trained. Don't want that. And then I'm going to make yet another army. And I just try to put one with, it's got the leadership infantry, since these guys they have almost no experience at the beginning, and they actually get a debuff for having no experience. If the generals have that little infantry leader trait, then it allows them to get experience a lot quicker. So that's why I do that. And the way that this is going to work is I'm predicting this is going to go pretty quickly after we beat this initial one, because there's not really much in the way of fallback for the Republican Spaniards. Okay, so as we can see here, we've got 150 political power. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do army drill with Wilhelm Keitel, and that allows us to get basically 0.1 army experience per day, which is huge, and it also allows us to take 10% off of our training time, division training time. So this is going to go quicker. And there's actually another reason I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to tell you yet because I still need more political power. Okay, another agency or another department is research. Just keep on going. Awesome. Cool. Let those guys go. And yeah, basically already we are attacking Madrid, which is huge because if Madrid falls, then it kind of cuts off a lot of these guys from getting supplies. And they're surprisingly being really resilient. Infantry. Okay, Army Department. Let's go to Naval Department. And yeah, we can become Spy Master. And what that essentially allows us to do is Spy Master allows you to have automatically a second recruiting slot, and it also allows me to like tell my faction what to do in terms of espionage, even though we don't really have a faction right now. Since we are the faction leaders of the Axis, there's only one country in the Axis, which is us. So, not yet. All right. Again, just ignore the MEFO bills. All right. 3, 2, 1. Cool. Click on these. Yeah, we'll go ahead, even though it's 0.06 ahead of the time. We're just going to do that. I am also going to go ahead and research field hospital. And the reason I'm doing field hospital is as Germany, once we have a ton of units and once we have a 2-front war going on, which we're definitely going to have with the Soviet Union eventually, it starts to put a real drain on your manpower just because Germany just doesn't quite have the sheer numbers to go toe-to-toe with France, Britain, USSR, and eventually the US. So we're going to need all the help we can get. So the field hospital, what that allows us to do is it allows us to have a trickle-back bonus. So the trickle-back bonus is essentially every 5th man that we would lose from being wounded or being killed goes back into our manpower. It also allows us to not lose as much experience for taking losses, which is huge. So, gonna research that, and when I get a chance, I'm gonna add that to production, like I am adding the anti-tank. All right, let's go ahead and put one on that. So we will start creating anti-tank. And as you can see, it's like getting really, really slow, but like the amount that we're able to make in a week is going up, and that's the production efficiency going up. First Vienna Award. Cool. Let's do the fate of Czechoslovakia, which will hopefully be pretty quick and easy. And for whatever reason, this is still going poorly. God. Well, I mean, they're getting experience at the very least, so we're going to have like really top tier tank divisions. All right, naval department's formed. Go to the Air Force Department. Yeah, I'm probably not handling this as well as I could, but it is what it is. All right, so I'm gonna have these guys go over here. And we're gonna cut them off. All right, these guys go over here. And I mean, you can make cryptology. You can kind of do all this stuff. I am probably just gonna go ahead and do cryptology department, which allows you to. The cryptology department allows you to essentially break the cipher of any military of any country. It just takes some time, but once you break it, you can give yourself a huge buff against that military for like it's like 180 days or something. So that could be really useful sometimes. Okay. They're having a little bit better luck over here, despite the fact that they're attacking a mountain. Love that. All right. Fate of Czechoslovakia should be over with pretty quickly, and that's great because we will already basically have all of Austria and Czechoslovakia before 1938, and it's barely 1937. Oh shit, missed that. You can set up Slovakia as a puppet state if you wish to. The AI of Germany always does this. You can also partition Czechoslovakia with Hungary. I never do this. I never do this. I just take all of Czechoslovakia, which it's probably a mistake. There's probably some reason why you shouldn't do it, but I just like to do it. So now we come down to Yugoslavia. So what we're going to do with Yugoslavia is I'm actually going to yeah. I don't know if I'm doing this too early. Last time this didn't work quite as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to demand Slovenia because if we wait too late, then Yugoslavia will get a guarantee from we'll get a guarantee from. I'm surprised we can't recruit another one. Anyway, sorry. Yugoslavia will get a guarantee from France, which would basically start World War II a lot quicker than we would ever want. So the reason that I'm going to go ahead and demand Slovenia so quickly is so that we get what we want from them. In that same spirit, I'm also going to put, even though it's going to put a drain on our supply chain, I'm going to put, god damn it, every single unit that we have on this Yugoslavian border, basically. And this will hopefully force them to comply with our request or acquiesce with our request, a la Pirates of the Caribbean. Select an operative to recruit. Not quite sure why I'm not getting the ability to recruit a person from a random country, but I'm just going to go with Otto Scarinzi. He's pretty good. Sufficient resources. I'm not going to deal with it yet. Just not yet. Excavation 1 is over. Let's go with construction 2. No cipher being decrypted. Okay, so cryptology. Here we go. So like I can start doing it for any country. Let's see how long it would take for Poland. Yeah, that's not going to happen. All right, let's start doing it for France instead. Basically anything that'll help us. I have a feeling it's not going to take that long. Radio interception group. Okay, cool. Okay. All right. So hopefully Yugoslavia is going to do what we want here. I have a feeling they will. As you notice, some of our units are in bad supply, so they have attrition because they're not being supplied effectively. Okay. That's a little. Oh, okay. So, all right. So they're not being supplied effectively, despite the fact that the supply hub is right here, and that's just because there's like not enough supply getting to them. So what I can do is I can change the motorization level, which we'll use up here in the logistics fulfillment. You can see it will probably use some more trains, and then it's also going to use more trucks. And luckily, we have some trucks in the stockpile, and we're not at war, so we don't really care if those are being used. But see, I changed the motorization level, and already that supply debuff has gone away. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Sorry, click it to 1. I'm going to change this to 2. There we go. There we go. And we need some trains, which I probably should have been constructing from the get-go. That's my bad. So I'm going to make like 2 trains. And they're trying their best over here. I don't know why they're struggling so hard. Ay. Just is not working out for them. Okay, so we have Wilhelm Keitel cutting down our division training time by 10%. So normally, if you wanted to do, as you can also see, sorry, we're running out of manpower. So typically what you would do is you would just raise the conscription law. However, as you start to do that more and more, you get debuffs for doing it, like negative 30% construction speed and factory output and all that stuff down here. We definitely don't have to be down here yet. I don't think the situation is not quite that dire. We're not at war. But we definitely want to do the extensive conscription, which is fair. It'll give us 5% of our population being recruited. Only issue is it gives you 10% training time, which for most other countries is a bigger deal. But for Germany, because we have Wilhelm Keitel, it completely offsets that. So, going to pick that, and we are just going to kind of let it roll. Okay, you know what? I'm actually going to recruit a Brit. Just going to get rid of him. I'm going to get a British operative instead. And this guy, I'm going to have him start building a quiet intelligence network in the Soviet Union. Actually, no, he's going to start building it. Over here instead. We're going to see how this goes with Yugoslavia. I have a feeling that since we've got all those units on their border, they're just going to do what we ask. I'm going to wait just a little bit. A triumph for Germany. Okay, cool. And now we're going to do the first Ljubljana Award, which gives stuff to somebody else. I forget how this works. I think it basically gives Bulgaria some of Yugoslavia. It might give them like that. As you'll notice, it also gave them Istria. Or it gave Italy Istria. And so we're just going to keep on keeping on. Cool. And I should say I'm just going to go ahead and start preemptively putting troops on the French border, just so that we're not as exposed there. There's no real reason to do it exactly that way, but Hindenburg disaster, yeah. Alrighty, 26 days left on these. Research is operative can be recruited. Like how he just doesn't have a name. Oh, Cicero, Wolf, cool, so edgy. Um, yeah, nice. I am gonna change the priority though. And I'm going to put reinforcement on the highest priority so that way, instead of just making new units, we're making sure the guys that we already have get stuff. Field hospital. Cool. You can do logistics. Once I have more panzer divisions, I might do the logistics just because it essentially allows them to use less supplies. So, yeah, I'll do that at some point down the road. And I think we're kind of ahead the curve on everything. We could do radar, but let's do oil processing. Dispersed industry. Let's do rubber processing. Okay. Government cipher school. Let's do radio interception school. Build an intelligence unit in Britain. And as you can see too over here with the civilian factories, we've like really started to make a lot of them, which is great. And just to split this up a little bit, I'm going to send a fighter unit over here. I'm going to send these guys over here. And I'll send these guys over here. Cool. Okay. First Ljubljana Award. It's over. Now we can do Fate of Yugoslavia. And since we've got the Fate of Yugoslavia thing set up, basically what should happen is all of Yugoslavia should fold and we should get all of it, which is great. Japan declared war on China. Marco Polo Bridge incident, all that stuff, radio interception. And as you notice too, the more upgrades we get to our cryptology, the quicker this is going. Obviously, it's going quicker too because just time has passed, but the cryptology level has gone up. And now we have machine assisted decryption, which is huge. So we're going to do that. Okay. Pause it. Should have paused that a little bit earlier. We're going to go ahead. We can do radio detection if we really wanted to. How much longer do we have in construction? 36 days. Okay, we'll do fuel refining. Oh, are we finally winning the goddamn battle over here? That's awesome. Oh, also, as we should know, these guys are now veterans. So these guys are like super super experienced. So that's really the big upside to wasting all the fuel and wasting all the resources over here. How many are we using for that special project? Okay, 10. All right. And our war support, I should also mention, is now up to 87%, which is great. It's like really high. 98, 99, 100. Awesome. They don't really matter because we're going to get reinforcements from the Spaniards. And we are hopefully going to punch through, despite the fact that we're fighting over a river with tanks, which is typically would not go well. But they've got enough experience and they've got enough willpower that they can probably just go through. Okay. 3 days left. Okay, cool. Construction over. Resource acquired. Ah, they got another unit. That sucks. All right, well, better than nothing. We're going to keep going. Got enough stuff going on there. Let's do anti-partisan, since we're obviously occupying a lot of places. We'll do the anti-partisan upgrade, which will allow us to make sure we don't have too much stuff going on. Yeah, so see, like the Czechoslovaks, like they've got, obviously they're fairly unhappy with what's going on. Just to deal with that a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and recruit Heinrich Himmler, which should help with that. Fate of Yugoslavia. Okay. You can make puppets of both Croatia and Yugoslavia. You can make Croatia a puppet and annex the rest, or you can annex all of Yugoslavia. I am going to annex all of Yugoslavia because I put in the work, so I want it all. All of this is ours now. That is huge. Germany is freaking massive in 1937 without having fired a goddamn shot. So, again, you could do this Greece thing. I don't really care about Greece that much. Sorry to my roommate who is Greek. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go down the autarky path, and I'm going to do this coal liquidization, and then I'm going to do the synthetic refinery. Autarky. Fate of Yugoslavia. Cool. All of that is fixed. And, I mean, we honestly, at this point, like, that's a ton of resources. I forget how many you get from each, but yeah, I mean, that's like chromium, aluminum, steel, all of that, super useful. And on top of that, we now have, like, I have 64 civilian factories? Yeah, so very pleased with how that's going. We still have a deficit for trains, still not nearly as many as we want, but we're getting there, slowly but surely. And now it should be mentioned, after all the civilian factories are made, I am literally just going to start building military factories all over the frickin' place. And we're going to start ramping up production. We're going to make a ton of fighters. We're going to make a ton of tactical bombers. And we're basically just going to become this amorphous blob that continues to steamroll. And it's only 1937. Again, pretty great. I am happy. Oh, that's not really working out. Maybe we'll have better luck over here. Okay. Yeah, they are. Cool. All right. So, land doctrine. Haven't really touched on this yet. Probably should have. But Germany starts with the mobile warfare doctrine, which, historically, like, this is where they would have fit in. As you can see, there's the Blitzkrieg thing. I hate to say it doesn't really matter which way you go through on this. I typically end up going this way, but I guess it actually makes more sense to go down the Blitzkrieg. So yeah. Anyway, the reason that I do end up going all the way down this, and depending on which road you take, is because you get down to this desperate defense, and you get this Volkssturm add-on, which is freaking amazing. What it does is it gives you 2% recruitable population bonus, and you saw what 5% did. And then if you go down to non-discriminatory conscription, it gives you another 3%, which is basically another 5%, or in the aggregate. So yeah, really useful. Go down this all the way. Can't stress that enough. All right, kind of letting these guys do what they need to do. All right, that's awesome. Valencia. Oil processing is now up to where it needs to be. And I mean, we don't really need, okay, you know, we're just going to start, even if we get that ahead of time. Debuff. And yet another. We're just going to go ahead and start over here too. Cool. And also worth mentioning, now for the naval side, like we have 34 submarines and our surface fleet is actually getting to a respectable size. Still not anywhere near as big as the British is, but I mean, I'm happy. Okay, and we've created a bunch. We're still creating a bunch of anti-tank things. Pump that up to 20. Pump you up to 7. Pump you up to 6. Pump you up there. Here. And we'll keep it there. Because eventually we're just gonna want to start pumping out a ton of fighters. Do I have another slot? Oh, okay, no I don't. No I don't. I'm just being stupid. But the intelligence network is pretty high right now, which is awesome. And actually, how is that encryption, decryption going? 93 days. Very cool. Now that we don't have efficient resources, we'll do it for the Swedes since we're not going to go to war with them. At least I'm not planning to. But yeah, as you can see, like we're suffering on the supply front because we need a ton of trains. And just to go ahead and get you guys out of there. All right, cool. That's preemptive. Like it doesn't really matter that much. I am hoping that the resistance targets start to go down. Okay, cool, cool. They are. They're getting more manageable. Oh, should be mentioned. These guys are kind of struggling with their supply. Switch this to motorization. Turn this off so that we don't waste trucks down here. And it should alleviate it a bit. Okay, cool. Still not for these guys. So what we're going to do is we're just going to build this railroad all the way over here. And change that to top priority. It takes literally 3 days to build. There we go. And that should help a bit. I know it takes a minute for the actual supplies to get there, but okay, it's better than nothing. We can't help everything. Not everybody can be happy. Autarky, 67 or 62 days. At this point, it's kind of up to you what you want to do. I mean, you could like start to actually invade France if you wanted to. I personally don't think it's going to be that useful, but that's just me. Not yet. There's definitely other things that I want to do before then. Oh my god, I'm getting creamed. Maybe we can go back over here and help. Anyway, Hermann Goering Werk. I'm going to do the coal liquidization because we desperately need more oil, and this essentially allows you to just go all the way down this. Okay. Hopefully those guys eventually win. I swear. It's like it's not frustrating, but it's just kind of needlessly tedious. It should definitely be over by now. All right, and finally, we're going to do a War Industrious Walter Funk. Just because it gives us the military factory construction speed that we kind of need. So, that should go quickly. All right, 78 days to the soonest one. Oh my god, this is like... Oh, let's just go all the way over here and help them push into Madrid and see how that works. Maybe it'll go better. There we go, finally. God. And essentially at this point, we are just encircling people. Ooh, actually, let's just go ahead and take this rail hub. Oh no, now we're encircled. Ha! That sucks. Oh god. Alright. That did not go the way I was hoping it would. I really hope we don't lose all of those guys. If we lose all of those guys, that's just because I was getting really cocky, so that's my fault. Fuck. I wish I could go back. Okay, I've successfully finished their decryption. Let's start on the Brits, just because. Alright, please let us break out of this encirclement. Oh, fuck. Yep, now we're getting encircled. And we're gonna lose a lot of these guys, if not all of them. Oh, thank God. Okay, so we only we only lost a motorized division. I'm just gonna train another one, and we'll pretend that that never happened. Yeah. That sucked. Okay. Ignore that, infidel. Ignore that, people. If anybody's actually watching on YouTube, they probably aren't. Yeah, we're just gonna finish that up. Synthetic rubber should be finished soon, which is good. Keep these guys going. Friedrich Schultz, excavation 2. Yeah, we've got 300%. We could just do the improved oil processing, which should give us pretty big boosts on how much oil we're actually making, which is very good. All right. I think we lose that bonus, though. I don't think it stays with us. Yeah, see, it's already gone. That's fine. It's 100% fine. We're just going to start making that. And we aren't going to bother with any of that stuff. We're actually going to do a computing machine. God, that really sucks, man. That pisses me off. That would have been a really nice unit to still have. Yeesh. Glad the Spanish could finally get their act together when it counted. Finally. Oh, and the reason I'm going for this is because it's a railroad hub. I mean, it's just going to help with supplies in general. Extra research slot. I could deal with that. I could do all of this stuff. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to do the west wall. Just kind of preemptively. What's Romania doing? Yeah, see, Romania is kind of doing its own thing. It's a little weird. Take this air base. And we'll help them take these guys. Oh, man. Alright. So fuel is not quite where we want it to be. Might actually build a few refineries because we now also get rubber from that, which is great. So hopefully those will go quickly. It's going to take a few months. We could do radar detection, even though I'm not going to build radar stuff, at least not in the purposes of this video. It's already much longer than I wanted it to be. Sorry, it's like an hour and 6 minutes right now. Okay, volunteers are coming home, which is great. We now have fairly big naval units, which is great. How's our air doing? Okay. Okay, we're getting solid. I guess I should go ahead and draw up an offensive plan for this, so that the AI essentially does all of my work for me. Although I don't think that apply. It pisses me off every time. Yeah. So what I'm gonna have these dudes do from East Prussia is basically just help with the encirclement a little bit. Alright, cool. The Bulgarians want to be friends with us, but we can't invite them to the faction because world tension isn't high enough. Cool. Alright, these guys have shown up. Where'd they actually go? Oh, here. Alright, which one of these units do I want to be the god tier? Let's take these guys. Let's throw over here. And let's take 1, 2. No, let's take. What we'll do is we'll take 1, 2, 3. Throw them in. Throw you over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to place this field Rommel with, or we're going to replace the field marshal with Erwin Rommel, since he now has a ton of experience from fighting in Spain. He's going to give us a huge attack bonus, and this entire thing is just going to go so much freaking easier. West Wall's getting built. Okay, cool. Research starting to we're starting to get to the point where we've basically researched everything that we could possibly want. Naval Command, I'm going to do commerce rating. Jesus. And I'm going to do Hermann Goering so that we get air experience and we get close air support buffs, which are going to be huge. And just starting to prep for this. All of these guys, when the war starts, I'm going to have them be close air support on Western Poland. And ditto for these guys. I'm actually going to change the limit on this. There we go. All of these guys, have them be close air support in Western Poland. It doesn't actually do anything. We won't start using oil until they actually are needed in battles. And since we're not at war yet, there are no battles, so it's not an issue. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. There, you could go down the national focus route of like getting the treaty with Russia that allows you to research all that stuff quicker. I'm just not quite gonna worry about it yet. It's not really a biggie. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna have the submarines start commerce rating over here. I want them actually to go ahead and get out of the ports before the war starts, because half the time I can't even get them out, because if I send them out after the war has started, then they'll like run into the British Navy, which sucks. All right, so I'm fairly happy with what's going on. You could do stuff different. You could do some different things if you wanted to. Like, we could do this naval rearmament really quickly just to go ahead and get a little bit more naval production. Not that we really need it. I mean, I don't know how we lost a naval production on that, but anyway. Yeah, so we're kind of cruising cruising along. These 4 can go over here. And now that we have enough, I am gonna officially slow down a little bit more once these guys finish deploying. Okay. Ooh, did I send? Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's gonna make that go a little bit easier. Oh my god. See, sometimes the AI does this, and that's not ideal. I don't know why they think that that's like a good idea. Since they're not going to get any supply up there, and since they're mechanized units, they're going to do horribly. Okay. Reassert Eastern claims. Cool. I feel like we can actually do an operation in France. Infiltrate civilian administration. Prepare collaboration government. That's actually pretty useful. So what I'm going to do is that. And what that essentially allows us to do is that once I defeat France, we already have a collaboration government in place that makes the resistance target a lot lower. All right, we're not producing quite as many military factories as I would have liked at this point. At least at this point in preparing for things, I probably would have preferred to have all of this be much higher. But it is what it is. We can't be perfect. Looks like we need more tungsten from Sweden, so we're gonna put this up. Okay, cool. Fourth International. That pops up every time. I think it's like a communist conference that happens in Paris. I don't really know what's going on with that. Hungary announces Treaty of Triaton, which is good. That means that they're slowly going more and more fascist, and eventually we're going to be able to invite them to our faction, which is good. And eventually I'm going to be able to do something with Romania that'll allow us to puppet both Romania and Hungary. And I think Bulgaria is going to also join us before too long. So we'll have like a nice little 3-country thing going on here. And the submarines are still doing their thing. Cool. So that when war does eventually break out, we are pretty much just going to completely roll through the Poles. Okay, cool. And yeah, it's like, we could start to do this stuff. 70, 70, 70. That just takes a lot of time. We're just going to do the Danziger War. I want to end this video, and I want to end it with me destroying Poland. So I will take another 10 minutes, maybe. But to summarize, hopefully, Infidel, you've seen now like the strategy that you can do to essentially get Austria, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia a lot quicker. There's probably other ways to streamline the strategy. I say probably. There's definitely other ways to streamline the strategy. I am by no means an expert at this. I just typically do what makes the most sense for me and what I want to accomplish in a campaign. So, yeah, just keep on keeping on. And I will say too, the stability and the war support are going to take a pretty big hit when we declare war, because being in an offensive war, no matter what, gives you pretty big hit. All right, 7 days, 6 days, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on, there we go. And yeah, we'll start doing dispersed industry again. So that's the cool thing about the efficiency too, is you can see like we've been producing the same thing for a really long time, and even still, it's like we're still getting more efficiency on that cap from it. I'm actually going to decrease this even more. Okay, cool. All right, and we are going to keep shuffling people. God, I really wish there was a way to like switch where the units would line up, because it makes no sense that the AI puts them all the way here in the freaking mountains. But what are you going to do? Yeah, see, I can't. God, that bothers me. That bothers me a lot, but civilian factories. Okay, keep. And then we're going to keep making more synthetic refineries. We're going to keep making oil. But, all right, cool. Let's get into the point where we can start making more of these. And the Toad anti-tank, how many do we need? 24. Yeah, we're definitely not going to have enough, but it's fine. Yeah, we're at a huge deficit. It's all good. Okay. Gonna make more of these. We're gonna make more of these since we've got motorized divisions. We're actually gonna need a lot of these. Poor tactical bombers. They will eventually get what they need. Okay, Danziger War. This will fire very soon, and we'll finally get to do what we need to do. Cool. They refused. Now we get to do basically whatever we want to do. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do the air innovations. Won't be too bad. They know what the alternative is. Cool. So now we've got basically free reign to declare war. We declared war on Poland. Let's see just how quickly we can make this bad boy go. And we're going to do convoy rating over here. And maybe over here? Is there enough? No. Nope, we're just going to do one. That's fine. And I'm keeping it at full speed. I can slow it down just a little bit, but I mean, there we go. See, they're already losing convoys. Oh, but we might we might get fucked by that. That would suck. All right. Well, hopefully our submarines don't get too badly destroyed. But we have them on the back foot, and they're basically going to stay that way for the rest of this little war. I don't know if I've actually ever done it quite as quickly. I know I have the achievement where I've conquered both France and Poland before 1940, which is not hard to do at all. Um, but I wonder if I'll actually be able to conquer Poland before the. It's like 2 weeks, I think, is historically how long it took. Yeah, sometimes the AI quite just isn't as aggressive as I want it to be, but that's fine. Oh, fuck. Not what I wanted to do. Yeah, see, it's like here, you guys could really push this. And see, Danzig, like they're not even taking Danzig, which is the whole point of the freaking war. We lost submarines. That's fine. We can keep making more of them. I am not concerned. should probably switch this to convoy protection. Yeah, fuck up. And I'm going to put these naval bombers on naval strike. Yeah, that should make that a little bit easier, maybe. Oh, we're running out of fuel. Fuck. Okay. Probably should have been paying more attention to that. Soviet Union, Wow. Still not enough. Okay. Let's see what 15 factories gets us. Okay. Not quite enough. It's getting better. That's probably my fault. Gonna make as many of those as possible. And yeah. We are just gonna let that keep going. 6 days. All right. That's kind of odd. Don't like that, but oh, okay, we're fucking up their submarine fleets. That's fine. I'm fine with that. And we're taking out a lot of their convoys. Britain has a ton of convoys. It's not actually. Yeah. See, I mean, eventually over time, when they have no convoys, that'll make a difference. But I mean, right now we're just throwing pebbles at a tank, so not super impactful. Can these guys actually? See, yeah, like the AI just makes some really odd decisions on like what it wants to do sometimes. Like it could just take Krakow, which is huge. Just take Krakow. And now we've encircled. Also huge. There's a danger. Oh my god. Oh man. Yeah, see, because we haven't been able to do what I wanted to do. It's like yeah, it's like that's not historically accurate. These guys didn't take Königsberg. But I'm not concerned. That should be easy. Especially we have air superiority in the region, and we can do this like more ground cruise efficiency thing. It's not going to be bad. Yeah. Did they only manage to get one unit across? They might have only managed to get one unit, which I'm fine with. Now we've got more fuel. Everything's working out. We're Gucci. And at least, I mean, we'll get an encirclement, so we'll take out their first, the first brigade de chars de combat. I guess the first cavalry unit of France, which is good. I'm fine with that. Start taking them out. And threat of invasion finished. That's pretty easy. How long have we been at war for? 1 month ish. So took a little bit longer than it should have. That's fine. As you can see, like the submarines keep eating up the convoys from Britain. and that's pretty good for them. Eventually, we'll be able to do the exact same thing with the Americans too, which is very ideal. Also, something to note too: the Italians have not even entered the war yet. Like we don't have them as friends. Yeah, see, they're a major nation. They're gonna have to join. They're gonna have to join. Alrighty, not much happening. I'm gonna speed it up just a little bit because this is kind of getting tedious. Let them get on that. Why aren't you attacking? There we go. It's like literally just take Warsaw at this point. I think. Okay, cool. We've unlocked new infantry equipment. Anti-tank upgrade. It was complete. It worked. Cool. So, when we do eventually invade France, it'll make all of that much, much easier. Oh, and on top of that, we have enough trains now. So, big. We love trains. Trains are great. Okay. Hopefully this goes pretty quickly. Doctrine's available. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. We want those guys to break off and repair now. Because we just lost 8 ships, which sucks. Um, which is not great, but that's okay. I'm also going to turn up the repair threshold on this. Because all these guys kind of need it. Okay. Convoy interdiction. Cool. Yeah, see, it's like you guys could take the second capital and end this war so much quicker. There we go. Poland has capitulated. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here. This is like a pretty good stopping point. It's an hour and 30 minutes in, which admittedly is much longer than I had planned to do this for when I woke up this morning. But it's fine. Okay, so now Germany is one of the East, essentially. We still have the Soviet Union to deal with. Something to think about going forward, and what I will probably do is I will still do the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact because that allows the Soviets, or that gives the Soviets, that gives the Soviets and us a non-aggression pact, which forces them not to be able to declare war on us. And I'll probably continue down this Gross Grossraumwirtschaft line. Align Romania. So the Align Romania makes Romania fascist, and then the Align Hungary, which makes Hungary fascist, and then integrate war economies. And what the integrate war economies thing does, which is pretty cool, is if they're both fascist, it makes them puppets of us. So we'll have full control over Hungary and Romania. And then later on, we can fully annex them if we want, giving us even more territory and manpower. So something to think about. And then eventually, or I would say probably the next thing you want to do before going down that is you want to do the Around the Maginot, which gives you a conquer war goal focus on the Netherlands, all the Low Countries, so the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And what I do is I only declare war on the Netherlands first, which makes it so that the British and French can't get troops through Belgium, so they have to ship them to the Netherlands, conquer all the Netherlands, then go all the way through Belgium. Then I typically do like kind of just like a very quick sneak attack through Luxembourg and try to like take Sedan. And then once you've got all of this going, if you have the cryptology thing like I do, and you're playing it fairly smart, you put like a lot of motorized units here, you're gonna be able to conquer France pretty quickly. And once France is over with, you can install Vichy France, which I typically do. If you don't want Vichy France, you can later annex them. And I might help Italy out in Africa if I need to. And depending on how things go, then you could do Operation. Oh God, what's it called? Weserübung, which is uh, take Denmark. You could take Norway, and if you really wanted to, you could even take like Sweden or something like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope that this wasn't too terrible. Hopefully, this like gives you an idea for things that you can do to like help get the annexations going a little bit quicker. But yeah, I'm gonna save things right here.